This is the J.R. Hendrick Texan Gentleman, the podcast that deals with the early life of J.R. Hendrick in a narrated format. So let's join in on the journey. Hello, everybody. Jimmy here, and welcome to the podcast. With me, as always, almost always, is Malta Eco, J.R. Hendrick. Good to be here. Howdy. Okay, so this episode is pretty interesting. It's called, Can J.R. Get Through the Summer Flu? Okay. This is a pretty interesting episode, to say the least. So, we're going to start, of course, on the 19th of June. Here it is, 1 p.m. In Galveston, Jim and his dream team are meeting with Scotty Underwood, who advised a full frontal assault for the next week. Jim would agree to go on the Blake Carter show. Also on Saturday, he would be at a rally in Chicago, Illinois. Okay, so it's 3 p.m. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, JR is just barely over a stomach ache when he decides to go swimming. Kevin had to work another few hours because the senator was in town. 7 p.m. Dave Smith takes JR for dinner at Sonic. And Dave says, why do you tolerate Brad's jealousy? And JR is like, I told him off. I told him like it was. I told him like it is. He ain't going to keep playing the same games and thinking that he can hang out with me, JR said. You know, your daddy told me 4 years ago, when you started at Tech, that he didn't like Brad that much at all. Says that one of your greater weekends at home, Brad decided to go through your closets. That was before Grandma got mad and asked Mike Fields to make him leave, JR said. I don't know. He said he was sorry, but only time will tell. And Dave sounds a little forceful. Don't trust that. Don't fall for that again. He'll treat you with kindness long enough before he brings you down. And see, Dave Smith is one of those characters that sees. Okay, because he's been with JR all 4 years, off and on. Was his roommate, so it's kind of like, he told JR, look, I see through Brad. Okay, so it's 5 a.m. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Thomas is supervising the ranch hands loading some bulls for rodeo in Texas City. 6:30 a.m. Breakfast that morning was donuts from Southern Man. Now, Southern Man is a parody of a real donut place in Odessa called Southern Made. Best donuts in Texas. So JR said grace, and the family sits down to dinner. And he's pretty happy. He says, almost giddy happy. So I got a call from Samuel Doak, associate publisher of David Farmer. I'll get a check in the mail. $720 million, J.R. said gleefully. And Elizabeth Marie said, I'm proud of you. It's just now that I got the special degree. I got to figure out what I'm going to do with it. And J.R.'s like, law school. And she's like, no, law school ain't my thing. Besides, I'm not taking another standardized test. See, here's the thing, and I can't say this for statistical survey, but I did not do well with standardized tests. JR looked out when he took the LSAT because he had help. And Mike Field says, so what does everybody have going on today? And Kevin says, well, I'm using JR's boat to take Bobby and Elizabeth Marie fishing. I did ask Amy Kathleen, but she wants to stay behind because JR has this terrible stomachache, Kevin McDonald said. And Bobby asked, if we're all here, where's Christine? And Mike Field says, she had a sleepover last night with her friends. Said something about how her boyfriend won't stop but just ignores her. Okay, so now it's 8:30 a.m. at UT Clear Lake. Jim and Betsy, power couple, show up a little early to help get things set up ready for the rally. The issue behind the rally was the small business jobs protection package before Congress. 9 a.m. The rally is underway with the keynote speaker being Jack Robertson, Dean of the Texas Tech Law School, and another speaker was Scotty Underwood, who was accompanied by his ex-wife, Ashley Cooper. They were engaged to be married and planned to marry at Springfield Ranch in November. Okay, so it's 10 a.m. Jim is now the platform speaker, urging people to contact Congress because the small business jobs protection package was bottled up in the Senate because of the budget. 12 p.m. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Amy Kathleen brings JR a plate of rice and cheese. Here you go, Amy Kathleen said. Go get some rest after you eat. And please, get well soon. I have to. Christine's confirmation is tomorrow morning at Antioch Assemblies of Christ. Wait. Never thought you would gravitate that way. Aunt Betsy, Grandma, and Granddad raised you Baptist. And Gerald says, I'm saying that I'm staying Baptist for the sake of Christian. And of course her husband, Greg, shows up and he says, Amy, what difference does it make? He has the right to worship as he chooses, because he worships the same God as me and you. Woo! See, here's the thing, little caveat you don't know. All swaying men And of course, JR, being a swing gentleman, were raised to be Baptist. However, Betsy encouraged Amy to become a Presbyterian with her husband, because he's studying to be a minister. 1 p.m., back at the Deckard bungalow, Jim and Betsy, along with the dream team, are getting a free massage by the pool. 2 p.m., at the Deckard bungalow parlor, Jim and Betsy are meeting with Governor George W. Bush. And Bush said, "I'm glad you saw the light after Clinton recruited you. I respect that. I bet he thought it clever. Tell me how that worked." And Betsy stands up. DC, he chooses people. And Jim. And Bush says, "Clinton surrounds himself by idiots. Clown school." And Betsy says, "Clinton's a philanderer. I doubt he paid much attention to Jim his first few months in office." Jim spoke up. "Clinton lied. That was enough." And Bush faced him. "This could change anything. Support Dole." "Why should I support me, a moderate?" Jim said. "Just give me time." "Okay then," Governor Bush said. "Political ventures." And Betsy says, "I'm returning to D.C. to be with him in August." Betsy said, "I'll make him quit his assignment." Woo, Betsy. I'll bring her husband in. Okay, so it's 3 p.m. JR is back in bed in his room, lay low with the stomach pain. Mary Fields had given him some Pepto, which helped some, but for some of the morning, it had been unbearable. Okay, so now it is 4 p.m. JR decides to take a bath to try to soothe his stomach pain when Christine walks in. "What the hell happened to you?" Christine asked. "Don't know. I started having headaches on Tuesday. A little sniffles. Came back yesterday. And these awful stomach aches," Jared said. "You know what? Mom would say, get some rest and try to get to the doctor." 5 p.m. Central. Mike Fields comes in to JR's room with a plate of rice and toast. Mike also told him that Uncle Tom had just arrived at 4 to spend the weekend for a weekend visit. Okay, so now it's 6:30 p.m. Jim, Betsy, and the Dream Team, and of course Jim and Betsy, the Texas Power Couple, show up at a star-studded political rally dinner for Republicans in Galveston with a $140 a plate dinner. Okay. 8 p.m. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, JR goes downstairs to the living room to talk to his Uncle Tom and Aunt Diane. How's your stomach ache? Diane asked. Better for the time being, Gerald said. And Uncle Tom says, Diane heard that your book hit the best seller list. So they got copies. And we would like for you to autograph them for us. And of course, JR autographs them, the books, and then he sat there and talked to them for a while. 10 p.m., back at the bungalow in Galveston, Uncle Isaac is screaming with abdominal pain. And so Aunt Rebecca has to reach for some stomach pills. The oral chemotherapy was starting to get to him. Okay. July 21st, 3 a.m. Thomas is working with the hands and loading some cattle to be taken for an auction in Galveston. He and Rachel will be leaving little Thomas with his maternal grandmother so that they could go for the auction in Galveston and get a chance to see Betsy. The auction was a part of the Texas Livestock Federation Convention. Okay, so now it's 7 a.m. Okay, get this. It's interesting. Jim is playing. He's flying over Greensboro, North Carolina, when he gets a call. It's Clara Luss. Just when you think it's over. Henry flew to Sacramento for the weekend. He might not come back until Wednesday. Feeling a little lonesome? Clara said. Don't tell me. You're already on a plane to D.C. En route. I saw your plane just a minute ago. All right. But when you leave to go back to Dallas Wednesday to be with your husband, don't come back. Okay, 9:15 a.m. Antioch's Assembly of Christ. Jar has gone to Christine's confirmation with Mike and Mary Fields. Deacon David McAfee officiated the ceremony. Christine Michaela Hendrick. By the order of the Holy Melchizedek priesthood and the name of Jesus Christ, we lay our hands upon your head and confirm you a member of the assemblies of Christ, the household of Christ, and say unto you, receive the Holy Ghost. The deacon pronounces a blessing over Christine. Of course, present also at the ceremony was Grandma Mary and Uncle Carl. Gerald was able to attend the ceremony because his stomach pain had eased some. Okay, so it's 1 p.m. At the ranch, JR is resting again due to his stomach pain. The family nurse who lived at the ranch since 1980 to take care of Christine and other family members gave him a sedative. Her name is Luella. You're going to hear more about her. 3 p.m. Central. JR is resting. JR is resting. Max is working with Uncle Carl and Mike Fields and rounding up some goats for some immunizations. 7 p.m. Uncle Carl brings up a plate of rice to JR. Man, are you okay? Uncle Carl asked. Got sick earlier this month when I went to see Kristen. When she nursed me back to health, I thought it was over. But then Tuesday, I started having these little stomach pains off and on. And then Friday, the sniffles and stomach pains came back with a vengeance, along with these headaches. I see the doctor in the morning, and Uncle Carl says, "You want me to go with you?" And Gerald says, "Why don't you follow Kevin McDonald? He's taking me there. He wants to be there to find out what's going on." Okay, so we know that's pretty interesting what's going on. It is July the 22nd, 7 a.m. Breakfast that morning at the ranch was eggs, deer bacon, bagels. Everyone is at the dinner table, at the breakfast table, except for JR. And Kevin asked, "Mr. Field, I made him talk to the doctor. Really worried about him. He doesn't need to get this sick close to law school." And Mike Field says, "Relax. Of course he goes to the doctor. But something else you need to know about his granddad being a rancher. He knew how to mix up any tonic or any recipe to remedy something like this. It's probably nothing. It's probably nothing more than the summer flu." And Amy Kathleen, "Well, still you have to worry." And Mike says, Uncle Tom says, "Amy, your mom and I have to leave now. Please keep us posted." Okay, so it's 9 a.m. Jim is working with an intern from the Kennedy School to work on a press release that's to be released that afternoon. 11:30 a.m. Dr. Bertrand walks into the examining room where JR is. "You came in at 9:30, and Beverly knew something was wrong. And so she took a swab. It's just a moderate case of the summer flu." "What are your symptoms?" Dr. Bertrand asked, taking out a little black bag he usually used to work with JR. "Sniffles, stomach aches, headaches." And the doctor said, "You vomited into a bag in the waiting room. And Beverly analyzed that as well. You definitely do have what they call in Mexico gripe verano. He takes his notepad out of the black bag. "I'm going to prescribe 3 weeks of antiviral and you need to report to your doctor in Lubbock. Meanwhile, if I know your father, I have to report these findings to the Mayo Clinic. If these symptoms don't persist beyond the next few days, he'll have to have you flown there. Which the Mayo Clinic that Jim had sent JR was in Phoenix. We've been there a number of times. Okay, so now it's 11:45 a.m. Kevin and JR are getting into his rental Jeep, and they drive over to the ranch. And Kevin says, "Are you okay? I heard they gave you an IV, and they said you had a family nurse at home. And you told me that a nurse gave you your regular shot. Are you sure you're okay?" Those shots are just a regular part of my life. JR, you don't need them. They can hurt you. Kevin McDonald. Betty, this is the first time I've ever had to do this, we're gonna have to give him the bell. Yeah, go get schooled, Betty. Not everybody is as health conscious as you are. And Jared's like, okay. Been on them shots off and on since I was a little kid. I don't produce enough hormones, Kevin. It wasn't antibiotic. I'm just worried about you with those things for the past 8 months. You're worried, huh? Why don't you talk to Mike Fields? He gave me a few of these shots when I was a kid. Okay. So it's 1 p.m. Eastern at Entrepreneurial Fairs. The press statement is released, and Carol Stringer, intern assistant, Karen Burlington, did a press bulletin in front of some news cameras. Okay, so now it's 2 p.m. in Galveston. Betsy is at a convention roundtable on the emotional care of livestock. You have to talk to them with kindness, Betsy said. But with horses and cattle, you need a few rules of discipline and boundaries. And Howard Clayton, who is this owner of the Southern Cross Ranch in San Angelo, he said this: USDA has certain standards regarding the treatment of livestock. And the good news is Betsy knows them all. It's kind of bothering that Betsy. Okay, so it's 3 p.m. Central. Amy Kathleen walks into JR's bedroom. "Are you okay?" she said. "Kyle is downstairs with Madison and the kids." "That's too much of a crowd. Doctor says to avoid a lot of stress. the first 24 hours. And I was receiving this IV. Says if I'm not any better by Thursday, that Daddy's going to have to fly me to the Mayo in Phoenix. Okay, so Amy Kathleen sat on the bed. She said, he won't come to that. I spoke to Aunt Betsy. She's going to be praying for you. And everybody downstairs is going to be praying for you. Okay, 6:30 p.m. At the ranch, the family sits down for dinner, minus Jara. And Amy Kathleen says, I'm really worried about JR. Daddy says he was sick off and on as a child, but I never saw him like this. And Mike Phillips said, it'll pass. Luella said that Dr. Bertrand ordered an IV with cortisol and antiviral medicine. I've seen him pretty sick before. And your granddad knew just what to do. And Kevin said, still you can't help but wonder. And Mary Phillips said, trust me guys, he'll be okay. 20 years ago, he had a mild case of pneumonia. And I remember Granddad Swain took him over, brought him to the ranch, gave him the medicine. The doctor said to take along with some tonic. Spoiled that kid rotten. 7 p.m. Eastern. Jim is having dream team with his dinner with his dream team and Uncle Isaac. Veal Parmesan with garlic mashed potatoes. And the usual lemon swain cheesecake. Yay! Okay, so 4:45 a.m. Thomas and Rachel wake up in a hotel in San Angelo after driving part of the night from Galveston to San Angelo. They will leave at 7 in the morning to go back to the ranch. 7 a.m. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, only 3 members of the family are sitting down to breakfast at the patio. Mike and Mary Fields, and surprise, surprise, JR. Good morning, Uncle Mike. Aunt Mary, JR said. I understand there's waffles for breakfast. And Mike Fields said, let me tell you something, kid. If you hadn't come downstairs to eat, I would have done the same thing your granddad did to you years ago. And that is, bring you downstairs and have you sit and eat to get your strength up. You want that Ivy line out, do you? And Gerald's like, of course I do. Mary Fields spoke up. Brown sugar. Rather regular sugar. And Mike Fields said, honey, go ahead and get it on his waffles. He don't like syrup. And Gerald's like, what do you got going on today, Aunt Mary? And she said, Got some Eastern Star businesses to do on behalf of your mother, Mary said. I would ask if you want to come. No. Once I get this IV out, the stomach pain is over. I just may go to a Red Scout rally tonight, Gerald said. Until then, I'll be eating here at the ranch, expecting another check for royalties. Yeah, your book was a hit, Mike said. And Merrifield says, darling, I got to go ahead and take care of some Eastern Star business. Make sure you help JR up the stairs. And JR's like, Aunt Mary, I'll be fine. Okay, so it's 9 a.m. Jim is in theater 14 Heritage Gate, strategizing with his dream team. 11 a.m. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Louie approaches JR's room. How do you feel? Louie asked, checking his IV bags. I feel better. No more tummy aches. Just some sniffles. And maybe an occasional headache. Time to take the IV out, Luella said, taking the needle out of JR's arm. Carmen went to the pharmacy to get your antiviral medicine. Dr. Bertrand says you got to take it for 3 weeks. And then you were to check in with your doctor in Lubbock as soon as possible. Okay, so it's 1 p.m. Jim takes his Uncle Isaac to the EAA building. Well, finally, my nephew, the big guy, shows me where he works and moves, Isaac said. For the time being, a little over 2 months, and I'm going home, Jim said. You're your own man, with a little help from your dad. Show me around your office. Okay, 3 p.m. Meanwhile, at the ranch, JR is feeling better. And so he's going horseback riding with Kevin, Amy, Kathleen, Thomas, and Bobby. Elizabeth Marie is doing Eastern Star business with Mary. 4 p.m. Eastern, Washington, D.C. Jim is sitting down with his Uncle Isaac and Aunt Rebecca in the front lounge. I'm going to a rally tonight at George Washington University. Uncle Isaac, you want to come? And Aunt Rebecca says, I don't know. It might be too much out of him. And Uncle Isaac's like, are you kidding me? Despite the cancer, I'm a spring chicken. Besides, we're leaving Friday for Billings. And Clara Luss comes in and she sits alongside Jim. I'm leaving in the morning, you know. And Jim's like, don't you dare come back. Yeah, Clara said. What's that all about? Because Betsy's coming back. When she's coming back? A little less than a couple of weeks, Jim said. Do you think you can get away from me? Clara said. Won't be long till Betsy leaves you alone or fights you, and you'll come running back to me. Clear it back off, Jim said. 7 p.m. Central, Asbury United Methodist Church. JR is a Red Scout rally with Kevin. It's underway. Presiding over it is Reverend Will Mathers. And these are the, a discussion is the Red Scout law. Okay, there's eight key components of this law, so I want you to be ready. 1. We expect that God, country, and family come first. Number 2. We expect that young men should be developed into young men of character, and men of character, and become men of integrity, both being prepared and honorable gentlemen. Number 3, we affirm in the belief of Jesus Christ that He died on the cross for our sins and sorrows. 4, we affirm that illegal drugs of any kind that are not prescribed by doctors to be a scourge on American society, and that any man that is a scout or a woman that is a scout should refrain from such things. Number 5, we believe in equality under the law as dictated by the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence under the original intent of the Founding Fathers. 6, we believe that the biblical original intent of the Founding Fathers to be supreme, and that all the Red Scouts should learn the original intent and read the Bible daily. 7, we assert that God is our Heavenly Father, and that we should pray to Him alone to receive guidance. Number 8, we claim the belief of American exceptionalism and stand by that belief so long as the country stays close to Heavenly Father. 9 a.m. It's Eastern. Jim and his dream team arrive back at the mansion for a well-deserved rest. Okay, so hope you're ready, because this is where things kind of get spicy a bit. July 24th, 1 p.m. Jim arrives at the conference meeting room at the Entrepreneurial Affairs Agency, only to find a note stating that the meeting was canceled because SBA Administrator Phil Later, Director of Policy and Liaison Bill Mayer, and Congressman Bill Hume have canceled the legislative meeting due to the battle of the budget. So Jim's like angry, okay? He's pissed. 2 p.m. Central. Betsy is speaking at the Texas Livestock Federation Convention in Galveston. And she's talking about potential legislation going before the Texas legislature next year, with encouragement from the Texas Railroad Commission. 3 p.m. Central. Christine walked into Gerald's room. Why are you here instead of downstairs? Christine asked. Just this terrible headache, Carol said. And Luella said, here's some aspirin. Okay, so aspirin was a go-to thing among the Swains to treat certain headaches. Of course, Betsy would try to change that because of Jim. Okay, so now we are 4 p.m. Eastern. President Clinton is fresh back from official foreign policy duties in New Haven, Connecticut. And he's meeting with Leon Drew and Dick Morris. And Leon Drew says, Mr. President, I hate to say this, but you're off pace, Leon Drew said. I'm doing everything I can to help run this country. Now, other than what's going on with Hendrick, I really don't give a frick, Bill Clinton said. Said rambling. And Dick Morris said, he's on the Blake Carter show as we speak. And he booked a press conference for Tuesday, the 30th. Not to mention, Republican rally this Saturday in Chicago. So, Clinton says, I'm woefully unprepared. You need to do some more campaigning with Hillary. And let the pollsters dictate your vacation next month. Chances are his wife is returning to D.C. next month. He's a simple podunk. Are you saying that his popularity is growing even more? Can't get past me, President Clinton said, putting a cigar in his mouth. And Dick Morris said, obviously, you and Hillary have renewed your love for each other. The least thing you can do is show a united front with some campaign stops in August, Dick Morris said. And Leandro says, come on, Mr. President. Almost like Jim Hendrick is worse than Nixon. He's as bad as Nixon. And Clinton says, political favors on the side? I know from the FBI today that he went earlier this month to see some mob boss in Louisiana. Okay. 6 p.m. Central. JR is going to St. Anthony's Assemblies of Christ. With Tim Newcastle has received an executive partnership with Tim's and Babs, a petroleum consulting firm family with offices in Odessa, El Paso, Amarillo, and Austin. Eight p.m. Central. In the upstairs living room, JR is back home having a severe headache. Luella gives him some aspirin and his second dose of antiviral medication. 11:30 a.m. Eastern. Jim falls asleep and has a flashback dream. September 9th, 1981, Jeremy Swain calls Jim, his son-in-law, to the ranch dining room. Alright. Let's get to that recording. Jim, Daddy wants you in the dining room. All right. Betsy, what's going on? Just go talk to him. Sit down in the chair, Jim. No, I'm standing up. I hope you can take this while I gotta sit like a man. Are you gonna settle down? Maybe I better sit down. Yeah, what I'm about to give you is some tough love, father-in-law. You've been married to my daughter for 12 years now. I'll tell you something. You drop her off to Oklahoma to meet your father's people in Montana, leaving her all alone with the 3 kids, and Carl having to fill the fatherly duties when he's got 2 kids of his own, one of them a 3-year-old. Where are you getting at? You went off to Dallas to start your own country music studio. Come on, Mr. Swain, you know that the economy is downhill. I gotta diversify. JR was sick this summer, Jim. His mama was there. Yeah, you were there, don't get me wrong. But I heard tell the stories by my brother William, how JR used to cry. He had to go soothe him. When are you gonna grow up? I don't know why you snap at me. I work the oil fields hot and fast. I do my damnedest. Oh yeah? What about another vacation? Where your Uncle Isaac said that he didn't like it. He had plastic credit cards. One of them with Tyson Ranch. Tell your uncle not to intrude what's going on in your family. Look, you gotta understand something, Mr. Swain. He's related to my daddy. Them Montana folk can be pretty, how do I say, quirky. And my daddy was a coward. I'm sick and tired of hearing that. Tell you what I'm gonna do. In a few days, I'm going to send you Tom's house in El Paso. Sure, you can have your country music business. But if you ever break Betsy's heart or make JR cry and it gets to be too much, know this, I'm holding you accountable. We've had this talk God knows how many times, Jim. You or to grow up and grow a pair within 10 years. Or I'll make sure that Betsy makes sure that you're gone. Okay, wow. This is to be a common theme in any flashback dream that has anything to do with Jim and Jeremy Swain. Because the truth is, Jeremy Swain did not really approve of Betsy marrying him, but they did it anyway. Okay, so it's 4 a.m. Eastern. Jim wakes up with a start hearing his uncle, Isaac, screaming in pain. He sees his aunt administer him a sedative with pain relievers in order for him to go back to sleep. 5 a.m. Central. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Thomas and Mike Fields get some containers of ungraded eggs and loading them into a pickup truck to take to a farmer's market in Eastland, Texas. Thomas and Rachel would take the truck, leaving little Thomas with Luella and Amy Kathleen as they head to Eastland. Okay, so it's 7 a.m. Central. Okay, Betsy is having it at a hotel in Galveston. Betsy is having a continental breakfast with a fellow friend and rancher, Mary Jo Crosby. And Mary Jo says, "How did the kids feel about you doing this once a year, despite the fact that you missed in San Antonio last year?" Mary Jo said. "Well, Jared's getting ready to go to law school. Kyle has settled down with a family of his own. And Christine, well, she's too busy seeing her boyfriend and other friends for it to really matter." And Mary Jo kind of corrects her. "The most impacted is JR. You know, Betsy, he loves you something fierce. He was angry for Jim for sending him to Austin to do some lobbying for him instead of letting him go to college. Daddy and Mama, they disagreed, but it was the right thing to do. You love Jim, just the way I love Huck. But Betsy, baby, we don't answer to them." And Betsy's like, "You're right. They both cheat on us, and then keep going back to us. So what else is new? Except, I think it's different this time with Jim." And Mary Jo says, "Don't be fooled. He's hurt you before." No. I think he's ready to leave Washington and settle down." And Mary Jo says, We've known each other for 10 years through his sister-in-law, Donna. He can't have changed that much." And Betsy's like, "Well, I really don't care." Okay, so it's 9 a.m. Central. At the ranch, JR gets another call from David Farmer Publishing. Apparently, JR was getting another royalty check today for $3,725,000. I feel better already. JR hollered. Bye-bye bellyaches and bye-bye headaches. Just a touch of the sniffles. And Elizabeth Marie says, "Then what are we waiting for? Let's play a game of Monopoly." Okay. 1 p.m. Eastern. Jim is in the secondary office of Bill Mayer talking strategy. And Bill Mayer's like, "Jim, I know you're not fond of Phil's tactics, but he is still the administrator, even if he is a figurehead," Bill Mayer said. "And don't ask me whose side I'm on. Of course, the problem is not with you. The problem is with Phil. Sucking up to Bill Clinton and giving you the third degree is exactly what gets him going. But his teenage daughter is in Georgetown University Hospital. So cut him some slack. And okay, Jim is venting his anger. To hell with him. I want that small business jobs protection package passed. But yet there's this constant damn budget battle. And it seems like Clinton don't know where to cut. I know Phil's daughter is in the hospital. But there's something wrong with this picture. With him. Something wrong. Congress has to do its part first, Bill said. Look, I'm on your side. But as long as I'm working for Bill Clinton, I have to show some objectivity. Bill, that could be an uplift and a downhill and a downhill. Now, we all know that DC changes people. Changes me. Changes you. And I got a family to think about back home. And Bill says, well, my wife and I don't have much as far as family back home. I got everyone up here. And besides, strategy means that you work with Phil, not work for him. And Jim says, now you're talking. Look, I'll have a drink with you, but I promised Betsy I'd lay low with the liquor. Okay, so it's 4:30 p.m. Central. Brad's Crown Victoria pulls up in the drive. Jim Bob is in the front seat, so JR gets in the back seat. And Brad says, JR, you look like death warmed over. And JR's like, counting on you to notice. And Jim Bob says, maybe you should just stay here and get your rest, Jim Bob says. And JR's like, can both of y'all just lay off? Can we just have 1 week, have a Bible study in peace? Okay, so JR shows he's passed. And for that, Brad and Jim Bob get the bell. Yeah, sadly, I think both of them need to be schooled. 7 p.m. The Bible study was done in peace and assistance of Dr. Michelle, as everyone prayed about their needs. And JR's concerned about getting the family condo and everything settled in as he prepared for law school. And of course he's got law school jittering. Karen was concerned about finishing up her social work studies. She still had one more semester before her graduate internship in the spring. Jim Bob asked for prayers about his cousin and what she would do after receiving her RN degree. 9 p.m. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, JR is glad to be home. Surprise, surprise! Who should be there to greet him but Ken, who flew in from Dallas that night to do some more work for Dr. Pepper Company before returning back to Tech Business School in Lubbock. And Ken says, Papa Bear wants me back in August with you. Mom purchased me a condo on 19th of Boston. I'm still looking for something to do. And Liz Marie says, I'm looking for something to do this fall besides law school and grad school. And Merrifield said, you saw tonight, the Eastern Star has plenty of political action for you. Okay, I give this episode a 3.9 root beers. I give it some royalty checks for JR. I like to have that kind of money. And no summer flu. JR, the royalty checks, ride with Kevin McDonald, dinner with David Smith, and no summer flu. Good. Hope you enjoy listening to the J.R. Hendrick Picks and Gentlemen. If you like what you hear, please subscribe, become a part of the adventure. This is the James Hendrick Empowerment Network saying until next time, get ready for the rest of the story. It gets a teensy bit bumpy from here.